Hello and good day, all people watching this video. My name's Red Barn, otherwise known as Marcus, otherwise known as the Irish Indian Australian, and I'm a proud member of the 6,000 Years of History team. Today I will be starting a series on the numerous events that led to the seminal tragedy that was World War I, otherwise known as the Great War. And there were many events that led to this war. The series will be split into 10 parts. Part 1, the Franco-Prussian War. Part 2, the ascension of Wilhelm II to the German throne. Part 3, the Russo-Japanese War. Part 4, the Entente Cordiale. Part 5, the Moroccan crisis. Part 6, the Bosnian annexation crisis. Part 7, the Italo-Turkish War. Part 8, the Balkan Wars. Part 9, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. And Part 10, the July Ultimatum. As this is the first part, I will be of course speaking of the Franco-Prussian War and how it helped spark World War I. It was 1870, and a new power was rising in Europe. Prussia, back in 1864, had defeated the nation of Denmark with the help of the Austrian Empire, and had been able to annex the Duchy of Schleswig. The Prussians, in a dramatic turn of events, attacked Austria after only 1 month and 12 days were able to defeat the once superstate of Europe. After Prussia's victory, they formed the North German Confederation and secured Prussia's territorial gains. The Prussians then looked for an opportunity to incorporate the South German states into the Confederation to form the most powerful nation in Europe, the German Empire. The French Empire, known to be the strongest land power in Europe, at once had conquered all of Europe, led by Napoleon Bonaparte, was not the same France any longer. They were ruled by the nephew of Napoleon, Napoleon III, a man who saw himself as the equal of his famous uncle, both truly an incompetent ruler. He had made France pay dearly in his many foreign ventures, the most famous being the Crimean War, wars in Italy, and attempting to make a French-friendly Mexican government. During the Prussian-Austrian War, he expected to gain land from Prussia for keeping France neutral during the war, but the Prussians steadfastly refused him. He was also quite worried about this united Germany, as it upsets the European balance of power and is becoming the greatest threat to France itself. The spark of the war came because of the glorious revolution in Spain, where the Spanish military overthrew the ruling monarch and then offered the Spanish throne to Leopold Hohenzollern. The Hohenzollerns were the ruling monarch in Prussia. The Prussian Prime Minister Bismarck, seeing an opportunity to encircle France, urged Leopold to accept. When Leopold arrived in Spain, the French discovered what Bismarck was doing and demanded that Leopold decline the Spanish throne. Wilhelm I, the ruler of Prussia, recalled him. This scored France a great political victory, and Napoleon III used it to demand more from the Prussians. He sent out a message to Wilhelm demanding that no Hohenzollern would sit on the Spanish throne. Wilhelm would not accept and passed on what happened in Bismarck. Bismarck edited the message to make it sound to Prussians as if the French were rude to their king, and to make it sound to the French that the Prussian king was rude to their ambassador. Then he released it to the press. Because of a mistranslation in France, the message was seen as even more of an insult. It was also Bastille Day when the message was published in France, so nationalism grew rapidly. France rapidly mobilized its army, crossed the Rhine, and occupied Saarbrücken. Napoleon was pressured to launch an offensive before the chief of the German General Staff, Helmut von Moltke, mobilized. The first battle of the war was the Battle of Wissembourg. 25,000 Germans and 144 guns versus 8,000 French and 12 guns. Even if it was a hopeless battle for the French, they fought stubbornly. The German casualties were 1,551, while French casualties were 1,600 with 700 captured. The second battle of the war was the Battle of Spicheren. 37,000 Germans against 29,000 French. German casualties were 4,871, while French casualties were 4,000. The German victory here caused the French to withdraw to Metz. The third battle of the war was the Battle of Worth. For the Germans, 75,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, and 300 guns. For the French, 50,000 infantry, 4,850 cavalry, and 101 guns. This is the first decisive German victory of the war. German casualties were 10,640, while French losses were 20,000. The fourth battle of the war was Battle of Mars-la-Tour. 30,000 Germans against 120,000 French. Even though the French outnumbered the Germans 4-1, the battle ended inconclusively as the French were demoralized by past losses. This battle did feature one of the last successful cavalry charges of the modern warfare, the so-called von Bredow's death ride. The casualties were 15,779 Germans and 6,959 French. The fifth battle of the war and the largest battle of the war, the Battle of Gravelotte, 188,332 Germans and 732 guns against 112,000 French and 520 guns. This battle The superiority of French rifles was confirmed, as even though the Germans gained victory, they gained it through many dead men. The German casualties were 20,160, while French casualties were 12,275. The sixth battle of the war was the siege of Metz. 250,000 Germans against 180,000 French. After 2 months of siege, the French finally surrendered because of starvation. Germans lost 470,000, while the French lost 380,000 and 142,000 captured. The seventh battle of the war was the Battle of Sedan. 200,000 Germans with 744 guns against 130,000 French and 564 guns. This was a decisive battle, as it was the battle that caused the fall of the Second French Empire, and it caused the surrender, capture, and abdication of Napoleon III. The German casualties were 9,860, while French casualties were 18,000, with 104,000 captured. With the capture of Napoleon III, the Second French Empire was overthrown and replaced with the Third French Republic, calling itself the Government of National Defense. The government was willing to pay war reparations or cede colonies to Germany, but would not yield an inch of its territory nor a stone of its fortresses. The eighth and final battle of the war was the Siege of Paris from 1870 to 1871. 240,000 Prussians against 200,000 French soldiers and 200,000 French militia. After 4 months, 1 week, and 2 days, the French surrendered. For the casualties, there were 12,000 Prussians, and there were 240,000 French casualties, 146,000 captured, and 47,000 civilian casualties. The Siege of Paris ended with the ending with the Treaty of Frankfurt. This treaty ceded large parts of Alsace and Lorraine to the German Empire, forming the region of Alsace-Lorraine. Gave residents of Alsace-Lorraine the decision of either becoming German citizens or immigrating to France. Set up the withdrawal of German troops from French regions. France would be forced to pay 5 billion francs to Germany for a period of 5 years. France would recognize Wilhelm I as Emperor of the German Empire. Germany would be allowed to occupy parts of France until the reparations were paid. During the war, the southern German states had joined the Northern German Confederation and been annexed into what would become the German Empire. This war was the largest reason of why the French were so harsh of the Germans in the Treaty of Versailles, and why the French were so eager to join the Russians against the Germans. After the Franco-Prussian War, revanchism and nationalism spread across France. French revanchism was a deep sense of bitterness, hatred, and demand for revenge against Germany.